The green taxes are coming and voters are revolting, this time in Africa. Kenya, one of the most developed countries in Africa, has been hit by nationwide riots against a new so-called ecological tax, hitting everything from bread and diapers to batteries and TV sets. Now, given 7% inflation and a collapsing shilling, Kenyans simply cannot pay the new tax. In response, security services have so far shot dead at least 8 Kenyan protesters who responded by setting parliament on fire. In case you thought rabid governments was only a thing in the West, it has gone worldwide. The background here is straight out of Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So Kenya agreed to an IMF austerity program in 2021 that included tax hikes as a condition for new money. Kenya did raise taxes on salaries, gasoline, housing, and health insurance, piling on top of inflation that's been running roughly 7% since the pandemic. The new President William Ruto ran promising to cut spending instead of new taxes, but of course, once in office, he flipped, lecturing Kenyans how taxes will rise again because if you want public services, you've got to pay up. To which Kenyans asked, where exactly are all these public services? The roads are pockmarked, police are corrupt, Kenyans have to pay school fees and hospital fees out of pocket, and the newspapers are filled with politicians feathering their nests at taxpayer expense. It did not help that Ruto, once in office, immediately turned to renovating his 8 official residences, including $70,000 curtains that, to be fair, are quite tasteful, eggshell with Romalian type, along with $5.5 million for cars for Ruto and his 2 aides, and never-ending foreign trips and lavish parties on the taxpayer dime. All that bling does not pay for itself, so Ruto rolled out a raft of so-called eco taxes, hitting pretty much everything Kenyans buy, down to the bread and diapers, at which point cue the riots. Now, at this point, with dead protesters filling the evening news, the Kenyan government is stripping out some token taxes, sanitary pads and diapers, batteries so far. But given past form, it's a good bet that as soon as protesters go home, the government will get right back to stealing everything that is not locked down. So what's next? Brought to you by Unchained.com. Since the COVID spending orgy, countries across the world are spending so much, they're running up against what the market will bear, running up against how much debt they can sell, at which point they turn to the people, squeezing everything they can with new taxes. The problem is, at this point, they've taken the fat, now they're cutting into the bone. Now, in an ideal world, the response to government debt would be the good kind of austerity, cutting back on wasteful spending, curtains and all. Of course, in most countries, including the West, governments are instead using their own spending addiction as justification for jacking up the taxes, using the crisis they created to progressively gut the people, perhaps, as in Kenya, using the environment as an excuse to take what they want. So I suspect we'll see more Kenya-type dynamics play out again and again in the coming years, both in poor countries and in rich countries, where rabid governments are trying to crush people who simply cannot pay. So Kenya may not be the last parliament to burn. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.